Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to another episode of the Lycan DM's Workshop. I'm your host, the Lycan DM, Michael. Today we're doing some finishing touches on the Ruin Tower. Let's go ahead and jump right into it. So here we go. These are some of the tools we're going to be using. We're going to do that dirt, sand, and pebble mix. We got a little mix from when we had done our river. That's some off pieces of this foliage. We're going to be using some of that. We're going to be using these larger pebbles, and they're going to give us some nice crumbled stone texture. When I did all that foliage before from all that all those plants, all that those fake floral flowers. These are some of the stems that came with it. We're going to use these as vines. We are going to be making some stairs today, and we're going to be doing that making out of cardboard. Now, I want to give you a look at the Ruin Tower. I went ahead, I made the roof. I just realized my camera is a little disjointed. Give me 1 second. Well, give a full 360 tour on this. We're also going to make the roof for, if we have time, for this. But we are going to be focusing on this Ruin Tower today. And there it is. There's the big hole through several levels of this tower. I have made this trap door, which I made off camera this week, just because I wasn't sure how I was going to make it. Get a little focus on that. So basically, to make this, I used a strip of what is it? It's chipboard. With chipboard, it has enough thickness that I was able to take a blade and put these lines in it. These little thin little cuts. They're not cut all the way through. They're just a little bit of a score to give it a look like wood planks. But no, that is one piece of chipboard right there. And then I've used some other smaller pieces of chipboard to make the metal bandings. That is, the wood is painted with, it's all based in black. It's painted with an espresso and then a dusting of a good heavy dry brush, if you will, of some medium brown, and then just a light brushing of a gray. And on the top, I did a little spackling of some gray mixed with green to look like it's got some moss growing on it. Now, this is just a little bit of chain from a very old, already rusted, old chain necklace. So I didn't have to paint that part at all. That's just held in place. It's soaked in super glue, so it holds its shape very nicely. And then as far as this little bit right here goes, that is just a little metal bit I had laying around. I believe it's some sort of, it's not a button, but like a piece of a snap. For like a shirt or something like that. And then underneath it, it's just another piece of chipboard painted in metal. And that's all painted with gunmetal. And then the same thing done on the bottom. And those surrounding pieces of chipboard and supports are just chipboard painted with that nice dark gunmetal. I made the top the same way I made the rest of the structure, except I just made the walls a lot smaller. It, just like the other ones, it's cardboard on the inside. And then on the outside, it's that same dollar store foam core. Just beat up a little bit with a rock, and I want to show you the rock I use. This is it, just a rock from outside, a nice chunk. I think it's granite. It's nice, it's heavy, it's got some pokey bits in it. It's not a smooth rock at all. See if I can get an even better focus on it so you can see all the little tiny divots and stuff. So this was a very nicely textured rock that I used to texture the whole piece as far as the foam core goes. And this was something nice. That foam core takes texture very well. And that was that. Now, back to the big piece. Okay, so first things first. We are going to add some rubble. Now, I need to figure out exactly where my... oh, I also made this little ladder. It was just some matchstick pieces of wood just glued together with hot glue, and that's painted up the same way that I painted up all the wood on this. The black espresso, then heavy dry brush of the medium brown, and then instead of doing the gray, this is more of a newer structure, so I made it look a little more more recently built with a dry brushing of tan. I think that is the one thing I didn't do that I ended up adding to the rest of this structure afterwards, is I went over all the wood and stone and everything with a dry brushing of tan mixed with light gray. So that is all the painting that we did. I'm really liking how this came out. So, like I said, at this point, it's time to figure out where our stairs are going to go. Now, I'm not making the stairs just yet. I want to add the rubble first. But I am going to place these stairs in here in a way that I can tell where the stairs are going to be. So I'm going to put that one in there. Now, I'm also going to do something here. I want to make it so these stairs not only line up, but are square. So the bottom here isn't, let me show you, isn't lined up perfectly square with the grid. Now, it doesn't have to be. But I also want to make sure that this is the right stair I have for my first level. And I have a feeling it's not. It looks like the second one I did. Yeah, this is the second one. This is my piece. Okay. So I look at this and I see that here it is set up and lined up. So I'm going to see how it is on this. Because I know one of these I already went ahead and did the lineup for. But so down here it's not perfectly lined up. And that's okay, because I want to be lined up with the top piece. It doesn't have to be perfectly lined up with the grid down here. If I do it like that, it kind of is. But then it's also not where I want it. Wait, oh, this one. It's also not entirely where I want it to be. So I want this to be more over here. And that's fine. It's fine if it's on a little bit of a diagonal. I just want to make sure I have it set in a way that I know where it's going to be. And that's the big issue. All right. So, I'm going to put a little music on while we do this. All right. Let's start. Okay, so first things first. I'm attaching all this stuff, except for the vines, with glue. Now, when the glue dries, I have two options here. One, I can just soak my bits and then paint them on. But I don't want to do that. Because then I'm going to have to paint it. And I don't want to paint it. It's already the color I want it to be. So I'm actually going to take this aggregate here, the sand and pebble mixture, and I'm going to mix it with the glue and just a small bit of gray paint. Now, the bin I usually use to mix this in currently has a bunch of stuff in it. Now, I'm actually going to take a lot of this out, but I'll tell you what. I want some of this to be in there. So I'm going to just it already has some of that aggregate in there. And I'm just kind of roughing this up. So I'm just going to get the smaller strands of the small fibers. And what am I going to do with this? I have a cup, but I can't find my cup. There it is. Okay. All right. So, this mixture, we're just going to put some glue in. Now, we want to make this kind of like, I'm just going to take the top off. We want to mix this to a consistency that's sort of like, almost like a runny, like a cement, really. Like a runny cement. If anyone's ever worked that type of construction before. And we don't need a lot of gray, just need a little bit. Let's see if I can get this camera focused in a little bit more back here. There we go. Okay. So I'm going to mix this together, and I'm going to show you what we got. Now we need a lot more glue. This is the same, minus the foliage. This is the same way I make my my cave walls. Except I use brown instead. They got brownish gray. This isn't quite as dark as I want it to be. Might add in a little black. Yeah, I'm gonna add in a little black. This isn't something you really have to measure, which is nice. We just want it to be pretty darn dark. There we go. Okay. So this is going to serve as two functions. This is, indeed, a nice... Let's see if we can see that in there. So you can see that's got a lot of grit in it. And that's what I want, because the glue, the PVA glue, when it dries, it's going to shrink. And I want to make sure there's enough aggregate in there. Like, I'm going to get a little more this in there. So I want it to be really gritty. And I wanted those strings in there, but I wanted it to be loose stuff. So now that we have this base concrete, right, we're going to start dabbing it. Dab some in this corner over here. Dab some around the... I want some a lot around the edges here. I'm gonna start laying. I'm gonna do like a little bit, and then I'm gonna start laying on some thicker chunks. I'll show you what we got going on in just a moment. So I'm gonna actually just lift some of this off, like a scoop. Now, you might say I'm ruining my paint job. In a way, I kind of am. Am I going to have to go over this with a dry brush? Yes. But at least I don't have to do the whole painting process all over again. I've got my grid figured out. So that's half the work I don't have to do again. What I don't want to do, but see, the best part about doing it this way is that I'm going to have this gritty rubble that I'm just going to have to do just a dry brush over. And another neat part is that because the lines already exist, they look like the floor is actually underneath rather than... Now, ugh. The rubble. This part is going to stay just the way it is. This can get a little bit of a dry brush, sure. But for the most part, I'm not going to do a whole lot all over because I want some of that smaller aggregate to stay. But we are going to let that dry. Put that off to the side. Now that's going to take a while to dry. So while we work on that, we're going to work on our next piece. Now, once again, we're going to see where this lies. I believe it lies over here. Okay. So I want to give it a little leeway. And, because I want to be able to make sure that I can give it, you know, some spots where here and there I can switch it up a little bit, make it look like it doesn't have to have that. So this one, I'm not going to go overboard. I'm not going to put it where the top of the stairs comes up. Just going to do a little bit on this one. And yes, I'm trying to get some of this on that little bit that's on the walls as well. So that way it's just not black on the wall for no reason. There we go. Get all the very loose pieces off while we still can. And this is just accent. That's all that this is. This isn't meant to be like, we wanted this to be playable. You add too much onto the play space, then it makes it unplayable. But if you add it around, excuse me, in little places here and there, it gives the idea that yes, this place is covered in rubble, you know, and that it definitely, you want to at least give the impression of rubble. Spread this out a little bit. Now, the first level, I did go all the way around with it. But this one, we don't have to. We don't have to go super crazy with this. Just do a few spots. Towards the edge. Like I said, you're just trying to give the impression of rubble and ruin. Hit it with our gravel. Now we're gonna do. Look, that's one of my hand. We're gonna do some in the main room as well. Now we're just gonna do it in the corners. Because this is such a small room, we want to make sure it's playable. I got a little bit on here, so I'm like, well, what am I going to do with that? Well, you know what? I'll put a couple pieces of stone there. And I'm not going to do every corner. I'm just going to pick out like 3 of them. All right. And that's all we really did in that one. That's it. Loose stones. All right. So yeah. So while that is drying, we're gonna go ahead and make our stairs. Give me 1 second so I can grab my cardboard. That blade. It's always important to have a sharp blade when doing this. Dull blades are more dangerous than sharp blades. Okay, so take our ruler, pen, pencil, whatever you want to work with, and we are going to measure out 4 inches. And this is something that it doesn't have to be like completely exact, but we're going to start at the bottom. Now 4 inches, because we're going to have 4 steps. From that back piece, we're going to measure up 2 inches. We're going to connect those lines. Now, I also want to make sure, because that's our basis. Our basis is 4 inches. However, the question is we're doing a curve. So normally, what I would do is I would do this, and then I'd go over here, and I'd measure out those 4 inches again. So, we have 2 inches up, so basically every ½ inch is a step. So, first, ½ inch. Well, yeah, we gotta measure back here too. So we got ½ inch, 1 inch, 1.5, and then the 2. This is my basis for making stairs. And then I'm going to go in that first inch. 2 inch, 3 inch. And I'm going to measure up 1 inch from that first. And then so on and so forth. ½ inch. And then we're just going to connect the dots. Now this is how I make a single side of my stairs. Now my stairs are usually, I would make 2 of these and then put 1 inch squares or 2 inch squares depending on how, or 1 inch squares or 1 by 2 inch rectangles. Depending on how wide you want to make the stairs. This is the basis for how I make all my stairs. Now, the problem is that this is not 4 inches on one side. It is also not 4 inches from here to here. So I have to make this fit. But I'm going to cut this out as my base. I'm going to freehand cut this out because, like I said, it's just a template. So we're not worried that much about smooth edges on this piece. Alright, so that's it. That's the basis for my stairs. Now, I'm going to bend this to see if this fits. It does. So that inner part is actually 4 inches. So that's good. So I can go ahead and make 2 of these. 1 for each set of stairs. And I'm going to use this as my template for both. Stickers and stuff, they don't work very well when you're trying to paint and hot glue things. So you can either make sure this is the inside, which it's going to be anyway because, as you see, some of this is... I'm not using this part. This ruined corrugation. But I want to try to get as much of this off as I can. Because a lot of times that will affect where the hot glue is. Because the hot glue is stuck to this, it can peel right off. But you don't have to peel all of it off, as long as most of it's off. That's just things I've known in the past that I've had to re-glue things because they were glued to tape. Painting on tape takes... It's got to do several extra coats, and even then it still looks kind of glossy. That should be good. Okay, so now the pencil I have isn't very sharp, so I'm actually going to put that away. Now I'm going to get something that is sharp. And I'm going to take out a pen. Or rather we're going to take out a pen. And because this is a template, it's fine. So you always want to use your template as your base for everything you do. So everything you do is the exact same. You don't want to make a template, or you don't want to use the next piece you're making another template, because everything will start being a little off every time. Now, want to save some cardboard and some measurements? Work right from there. Less cutting, more doing. Okay, so we have our outline. We can go ahead and cut that. Now, a lot of these edges, a lot of them are going to be covered with something else. This inner face, I want a texture. I want it to look like stone, and I'm a little bit on the fence, I'll admit. I haven't exactly made up my mind yet. But I want to take that inner part, since that's the part you're going to be seeing, and put foam on it. Now, with that being said, none of my other stairs that I've ever done like this are covered in foam. They're just cardboard, and they're painted to look like stone. So that makes me feel like I don't know, that maybe I should... You gotta be careful here because we don't want to cut too far into that. But it makes me feel like I should do the same And that way, because I do want to be able to use these independently. I want to be able to, like, slap a dungeon together and be like, set of stairs. Boom. That are just happen to be on an angle. That's why I'm not attaching these to the floor. I don't know. The more I think about it, the more I feel like, because it's on the inside of this, and the inside of these walls are painted a certain way, that if I just paint these to look like stone, like I did the rest of my stairs, it'll look fine. And that way it'll blend together. But also, it's, do I want them to look better than my old stairs? For those of you who are watching, throw a comment into chat and tell me what you think. Should I use foam, or should I just go with the cardboard itself? Alright, stairs up is this way. So I'm actually going to bend these step by step, and to do that I'm going to use my ruler. Perfect. Now, let's get the hot glue gun set up, because I haven't plugged it in yet. Alright, so we're going to have to let that sit for a second. Now, that's okay, because now we're going to do the outside. So I need to make sure that this fits on my other one. It should just fine. Yeah, it does. That fits perfectly. Now, I'm going to glue these to the outside of the chipboard rather than the top. Why? Because I know I'd get better edging and a better stability if I glued them on top. But the reason why I'm doing them this way, and I'm going to probably put a piece of, not chipboard, but cardstock underneath, maybe, if I need some extra support. But I want it to be this height. I want it to be that 2 inches. I don't want to give it that extra little bit of height. A piece of cardstock won't hurt, but the chipboard is just a little too big. So, this fits perfectly onto this one. So I'm going to keep these to the side. Bum, bum. Oops, wrong way. Now I'm going to measure the outside. Now the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to line this up, this template, and I'm going to see how far I have left. An extra 2 inches. Alright. So, we got to measure out a 6-inch piece. once again, and I'm going to actually do that. I should do it on both, just to make sure. Should be the same on both, but not necessarily. Yep, 2 inches. Okay. All right. Let's measure that. So 6 inches. And I'm going to go right from this edge that I cut from. All right. Now we're going to go 2 inches high using the same edge. And I'm going to make that other little note on that 1/2 inch for the next place. But we'll get to that in a minute. Do the same thing on the other side. I'm going to measure up 2 inches. This way, so you can see. Do that extra 1/2 inch too. Measure twice. All right. 6, 6, and the last one matches too. Now, part of this is this run over here isn't straight. So I'm just going to make a line from where the actual 6 point is. So I know to trim off this little excess. Alright, now we're just going to do what we did before. And we're just going to make our notes at every 1/2 inch. Well, actually, no, that's not going to work. So we got 6 inches to deal with. We have 4 inches in between. 6 divided by 4 obviously is not going to make sense. However, so we got to figure out where this is going to make sense, because we need to split this into 4 sections. 1 1/2. 1 1/2. 1 1/2. So 1 1/2 sections, yeah. So we're going to go 1 1/2, 1 1/2, 1 1/2, and then that'll bring us to 6. All right. And we're going to do the same up here. Now I'm going to flip it around. One and a half, 1 1/2, 1 1/2, and then the 6. All right. All right. So now we have our 4 rectangles. And once again, I'm going to do the same thing over here, where I'm going to mark out each 1 1/2 block, or each 1/2 inch block. 2, 3. Actually noticing a little bit of discrepancy. One. Okay. Yep. Discrepancy taken care of. This is why we measure so damn much. I think my lines on this side are off, and that's why. That looks like what it is. Okay. So I'm going to put X's where my second one is going to be. So I can see the line. Make that line a little thicker. Color it out a little bit more so I know which line I'm cutting. All right, time to cut it out. What I'm doing here is I'm just doing a final lineup to make sure this is gonna work. Alright, and what I think I've noticed, and I think it must have been an error as far as the template goes. Tip of this is just a little high. Also, the bottom looks like it could be trimmed a little bit too. So I'm going to take just a little trim off that end on both of these. It looks like it gained an extra, like, not even an eighth of an inch. Perfect. That's where we need it to be. Excellent, excellent. Try the other side. Now, everything lines up on this one except this top square. So I'm actually going to make 2 cuts here. I'm going to make one where the initial square needs to end. Then I'm going to make one where this one actually ends. That way it's lined up properly. It's more important for the stairs to be lined up than anything else. Honestly, the stairs is probably going to be one of the harder, most time-consuming parts of this project. It's probably going to take me, like, maybe till 3 to finish these stairs. Which is another half hour. Now I am using a little bit of a sawing motion as I go, because these are such intricate cuts, as I go across the corrugation, I'm making like a sawing motion. And then just sort of lining it up from there. Just a little trim around here, a little bump. All right, let's line it up and make sure we don't have to do this again. So I'm actually going to bend this in every half bit of stair. Survey says it's a little out of line, but that may be okay. As when I look at this, I realize this isn't fully 6 inches. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to line this up to here, up to the grid, up to the corner, and I'm going to trim off this little bit here. Now I'm just going to make sure the beginning fits fine as well still. Actually, there's this. Yeah. And yeah, that fits wonderful. Perfect. Perfect. Now I'm just going to do the same on the other side and just dry fit it. This one, on the other hand, is perfect. Alright. Glue gun should be nice and ready. Yep, we got some glue sticking out of that. Alright. So now, I'm going to do the outside first. I'm going to put a line of glue right there on that back end. Right here. And I'm just putting my finger underneath that back end and slowly lifting it up as I put pressure down to get this to hook and solidify. Look at that. The outside of our stairwell. First one's coming together. Do the same thing to the other one. Get my hot glue piece ready because I know I'm going to need that soon. And do the same thing. Line that back edge up to the bottom. Now I'm trying to keep this as flush as I can to that edge, to that bottom little bit. Two stairs. Now let's do the inner edge. Now remember, these ones are going out like this. So we gotta start on this side and work our way forward. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to start on the back edge and work our way forward. Another reason why I'm doing these edges first is normally when you're doing a squared, a nice and straight-sided set of stairs, is because you can get those cuts perfect as far as the back and the front go. But because this is the nature of this beast, those measurements are not going to be exact. Like, for instance, this isn't just an inch in between here and here. It's more like 1.25 inches. So this is going to depend a lot on a few other things. So now we're going to do the same thing to the other side. Get that other glue stick in. Going back to the front. Back to front. Now we're going to use these bases as our measurements. Because now we can see, okay, this side has to be this long. This side has to be this long. And now we can get the angles as well. I bet you guys haven't seen one of these in a while. Good old protractor. Basically what we're going to do is we're going to pick a side to be the square. So I think the bottom is going to be our square side. So we're going to work in opposites. The bottom is going to be our 90 degree. Yeah. And then we just got to figure out what kind of angle this is. Basically a 110 degree angle. All right, let's get our cardboard. Where should we start? Let's start down here. Yeah, let's... So we know we got 6 inches to deal with, because on the one side. And then 4 inches on the other. Well, actually, we're doing this by the angle, so it'll be 1 by 1 by 1 by 1. So yeah, it'll be 4 inches across the bottom. So let's measure out 4 inches. We're going to have to do this an inch at a time. Yeah. All right. So let's do this an inch at a time. We'll start with our first inch. So we said that was going to be a 110 degree angle. That puts us to here. Now the question is how far do we have to go on this 110 degree angle? And we only have to go 1 inch. So that's good. So let's line up those corners, that dot with this dot. We measure 1 inch over here. We just connect those. That is our first square. Now I know you could build this in boxes. It's one way of doing it. But it's a little easier to do in boxes when you're doing it when they're perfect squares. Would this be easier to build out of foam, like, completely? If I had the foam that was the right size, sure. If I had Foamular, yeah. But I'm working cheap with the products that I have. Let's do a dry fit. Perfect. And yeah, it's not... I understand that it's a curve and not straight, but... And yeah, maybe I could have done something about that. But personally, I feel like the hot glue is what is going to make that difference. And once again, we're going to work back to front, so there's going to be a little piece I'm going to have to trim off a little bit here. I want to start with the bigger end. because I'd rather cut these little slabs than these smaller. Or rather, I'd rather cut these small slabs rather than the big parts. Look at that. We got our first step in. Alright, now we're going to do the same. So we've established that this should be a 110 degree angle all the way around. Now one way of doing that, actually, is because we have this mark here. I'll go ahead and connect those. So we can establish that by putting the point that's flush with the end and looking to see. It's not, actually. In fact, it's an angle on both sides. This one's more of a rhomboid, where it's like two angles. So that is going to be fun. Yes, I am being sarcastic. Alright, we'll put a point there at that 90 degree angle. I bet this one is going to be a 100 or 105 degree angle. I'm going to set it up at 100. Let's see. Yes, 100 degree angle that way. And this way, $80. There we go. So we are doing 100 by 80. Now I got to go over an inch. Alright, now let's just determine that these ends are 1 inch. 1 inch and 1 inch, yep. So, one inch, 1 inch. Now, the curve of this. Not quite perfect curve as we see here. This isn't a perfect. That doesn't work out very well. So it is not that perfect. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna line up the edges. We're gonna line up those points, and we're just gonna follow that curve, the natural curve of our piece, and that should be good. So yeah, let's do that curve first. It's just a slight curve. It's not as dramatic as the protractor. Now, why am I not cutting 2 of these at once? I mean, I guess I could. They would fit. I'll go ahead and I'll cut out 2 of these. Alright, and once again, let's dry fit it into place. Perfect. Alright, let's glue these pieces in. Now, yes, am I going to have to measure out that top square again? Yes, I am going to have to. So since we already have that one in mind, let's go ahead and cut it. So I already have an angle here. Just need to extend it an extra little bit. Make it an inch. Alright. Measure an inch on this side. And then that one was going to go straight up. And then once again, we're going to go with our natural curve. So maybe this isn't the final episode. It looks like we're going to have one more. Where we will paint the final touches. Or maybe I'll do that off screen since I've explained how really I'm just going to do a gray dry brush on the other pieces. Oops. As far as all that rubble goes. So far, so good. 2 more steps to cut out. Now, if I figured this out right, this next step should be the same as this one. But let's go ahead and find out. Let's grab that protractor again. Line it up on our cutting mat so that point is on the center of that square. Lie this flush and put the corner in that spot. Alright, and get that ruler underneath it. Alright, and this should be 100. And the other side, 80. Nice. Same angle as last time. So let's measure out that one. I'm going to go in 1 inch from here before I start measuring. I'll probably go in a half. We'll go in 1 inch. 1 inch to 2 inch. So that's our bottom. Start on the right-hand side. Get that the lines lined up. Find out where that 80 to 100 is. Finish off that angle over here. And then do the same on the other side. All right, let's cut it out. Now I haven't measured the top yet because this does have a little bit of a curve to it. So we're going to see what it looks like when we dry fit it. All right. Alright, let's get that and make another piece. Now, part of my next question that I have to myself is, should I go ahead and see if this will fit on the next stair? And if it does. I'm just going to go ahead and cut out one more of these. Perfect fit. And if I flip it around, it's also a good fit. So let's cut out 2 more of these. Excellent. Alright. Put that off to the side. What do you know? Like I told you, it's going to take me about till 3 o'clock to get the stairs put in place. Now it's just a simple matter of gluing. Curved stairs. And yeah, all we have to do is cut out little rectangles to fit in between. Easy peasy. little gap. There we go. All right. Second pair of steps is, or second set of steps is done. Now, here comes the really simple and easy part. Just going to cut some rectangles. The rectangles are going to be 1 inch wide. And the only one that really matters how long it is the one that's a 1/4 inch. So, I'm just going to cut using this. I'm going to measure 1 inch down from here. And, well, let's just measure down from here. Just connect the lines. And like I said, the only one that really matters is this one right here. From there, we're just going to cut, we're just going to go 1 inch, 2 inch, 3 inch, 4 inches. And just make sure that those match up with this. Alright, and then we're just going to connect the dots again. And this should give us enough for both pieces. And then, as I said, this first one right here, we're just going to measure 1/2 inch there. And then we're just basically going to arbitrarily cut each one of these in half. Alright, let's get cutting and do this. We are going to have to make one more piece on this as far as the stairs go. These are just the between steps. We have to make the end piece. I'm just going to cut this piece off. Okay. A little bit of a dry fit. This one we are going to use to cap off the end piece. actually a little taller than it needs to be. So trim off a little bit of that. First end piece. And that was the only one we really have to worry about measuring. The rest we just put a little bit on the sides, a little bit on the top. So I went along underneath here and on the sides. And then just slide this up. Or slide it in. Now this way you'd see I am working from the front forward because I need the back to be able to push this into position. Now, this isn't necessarily the way I make every single one of my stairs, but it's the way I'm basically having to make this one, if that makes sense. It's going to hold it in place till it cools. That's really about the end of it. And now the same thing here. I got a little flap here on the end. I'm just going to stick a little hot glue there where the corrugation isn't fully attached. Alright, now this back end we're just going to trace. Now, there's a problem with tracing as far as this goes, and that is it's not going to be perfect. So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of hold this, let's do it this way, hold this over the edge, so that way this piece of cardboard is laying on the table and not on this piece. Same thing with this piece of cardstock or chipboard. And I'm just going to draw this up, and I'm going to make a note where the top of the it is. And so this we're going to cut out and we're going to trim this. I'm just going to use scissors for this. I'm going to cut a little bit on the inside of that line. This is a little bit of an eyeball. Excellent fit. First try. Wow, I'm a little impressed. And once again, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to put that glue on the inside. We're going to put quite a bit more than we have been for a couple reasons. One, because this is going to be our final seal. And two, because we're going to kind of have to push this one in. So we want to make sure that there's a good seal on it. There we have it. Set of stairs. Curved stairs. I'm going to work on the other one off screen. For now, we're going to get back to the tower. These are finally dry after an hour. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a little dry brushing. Stick that in my water. Now, I got this nice, fluffy, very fluffy brush. A makeup brush will do. Anything that is nice and soft. Now, you pretty much can use anything as a paint palette. Let's be honest. I'm actually going to use my template, since I don't need this anymore, as just a little bit. Because I don't need that much. Just a little bit. I got my paper towel. Just a little dab. Spread it on the paper towel. Try to get all that, as much of that off as possible. One nice dry brushing. And we're just going to go over the piece. This also going to serve two functions. It's going to give a little color. Now, I might have to touch this up a little bit. But, ooh, yeah, let's not forget to do that. Let's get rid of all these excess. Alright. So yeah, I'm going to go on at an angle. We're going to knock some of these loose as we go. I'm going to go in on an angle like this so I can try to not get my floor as much as possible. Actually, some of this is not dry yet. This one I had laid on a little thick. That's probably why. Well, that means we can't dry brush this just yet. Let me check on the other pieces. Still a little wet. So I'll tell you what. I'm going to have to wait till next time. Ugh, that irks me. I was hoping this was going to be dry within an hour. But odds are, the problem is that the... even though there's not a whole lot of glue there to dry, it's mixed in with paint. And that might be the issue. Some parts are dry, but some parts are just too thick. So yeah, let's I guess what we'll have to do is wait. And we'll do the painting next week. We'll do painting, we'll do the roof. I don't have time to do the roof, unfortunately. It's going to take longer than 8 minutes to do it. So yeah, we're going to stop with this for right now. Alright. Well, suppose I can end it now. Well, thank you guys for joining me today. We're ending it a little early. Nothing wrong with that. Just a few minutes early. So yeah, we made some stairs, which took forever. But when you're making like curved stairs that need some pretty intricate measurements, you're better off being safe and taking those measurements so you can get that really good. I mean, look at that. No, it's good. It's a nice curved set of stairs. And they're playable. That's the point of these. They're playable. Each space is an inch, which is 5 feet in D&D. And it gives the semblance that, yeah, maybe there's more stairs there. But they can actually put a token on, or a token or a mini on these, and it's usable. That's what we're going for. You know, we got some rubble put down. And yeah, real quick, I can show you how to do, before we leave. Really, as far as doing these little vines, pick a side, put some glue on the vine, and then once it's on there, just put a little bit more on the limbs where you want them to stick. You want the glue to be nice and thin. Hold those down for a second. And there you go. You have a vine crawling up the side of your building. That's it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for coming in. Thank you for hanging out. I'll see you next week on the Lycan DM's Workshop.